Hello and welcome to another Friday. Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction author and eclectic reader. And I jumped in a minute early to talk about cozy translated fiction because this is a very exciting topic and I've been working very hard. Look at all these notes. I've read quite a double handfuls of books in this category. And so I thought I'd take a little bit of time to zoom in on it, examine what I like about this genre, what makes it unique, and give some examples of the books I've read that I like, talk about elements that make up cozy, especially for translated books, and then talk about a few books that I still have on my TBR. So I'm going to be, like I said, looking at my notes because there's a lot going on here and I took a lot of them. But welcome. Happy Friday. How's everybody doing? What's everybody drinking? I've still got pear apple cider because I have to finish the half gallon. It's got a little aftertaste of, I don't know, like it may be going bad. And not in an alcohol way, but in like a mold way. So I may have to put it back in the microwave some more. We'll see. But I don't like wasting food or drink. So I may just go with it. So yeah, let's get cozy. How do we do that? Well, I've got my cozy turtleneck. I've got a cozy candle going. I've got lots and lots of books. Not physical books, because a lot of these I have either resold or got from the library. So we'll have to share screen and talk about them. But if you are new here and you're interested in cozy translated books, feel free to subscribe and hopefully you'll see some that you know. If you like, then you can take my recommendations without a huge pile of salt and maybe trust me for more book recommendations. So there we go. I do have a question of the day and I pinned it in the chat. And that is just to ask, what is one element that says cozy to you when reading? So this can be more theoretical. This can be like an actual object, like a noun, but we'll go over this after we go through some examples because maybe you'll see some common elements and go, oh yeah, that definitely says cozy to me. All right, so I'm going to go to the chat and then start off with some of my category discussion things. Eva is here. Hello. And Anita, hello. Eva's got a cozy brownie, which sounds very fine indeed. I do love a brownie. All right, so I'm going to go with the definition that I found from Bookriot that I really liked. Let's see. I'm going to share the article because the article is actually pretty helpful in doing a little bit of research. Bookriot says, in the broadest sense, cozies are books that feel comforting like a warm hug. Writer's Digest explains cozy books as those that generally feature a smaller cast of characters. We'll talk about that. Be set in a smaller town, and have a more optimistic and upbeat tone, for sure. Above all, it has to have a satisfyingly happy ending. They offer comfort to their readers, a safe escape from the realities of our daily lives. Okay, so we're gonna pick those apart and see if we agree with all of them. But first, I want to make a few points about I'm having cozy translated fiction. So you can have cozy that's not translated. I have an example, a great example. A Fortnight in September by R.C. Sheriff is a book I reviewed not too long ago, and it's written in the 1930s. It's about a family that goes on vacation, and all of the stakes are very minor. It's, oh, are they going to offend the landlady? Oh, are they going to be seen leaving the house and be scoffed at by their neighbors? Oh, are they going to get the beach cabana that they wanted? Like, it's all very small things. And you see through different members of the family what they're worrying about. And then they each sort of get through to the other side and enjoy themselves. So it's a very lovely, cozy read. It's a modern fiction, and I read it for like May of the Moderns, era, but the not for the readathon. So that's cozy but not translated. And then what about translated but not cozy? Here's my example for that one. And these are both books that I recommend. So Smilla's Sense of Snow by Peter Huig. This is, I don't know how to say that. It's Danish. And this is a mystery / thriller. It's quite old. It's a backlist, and it was made into a movie. And it's about someone who has a sense of snow, meaning they feel something's off and it's a bit uncanny. And so definitely not in the cozy genre. There's a murder, something I don't even remember, except that it was so atmospheric and it was so tense and it was like really well plotted and fast paced. So really recommend that for translated non-cozy. So then let's put the two together. Why do we put the two together? Because there's an avalanche lately of cozy translated books. So this is Danish, which is not, I think, my normal or perhaps the book industry's normal top translated fiction market. What's really popular these days are Japanese cozy books. And so we'll go over some of those and then also a few Korean. And so there's just like this interesting thing that people are expecting and anticipating cozy books from Asian countries, which is not always a thing because other big Asian genres that get translated into English pretty regularly and get pretty popular include literary fiction, magical realism, horror for sure, and science fiction. Like that's like the smallest of the list, I would say. But those are the ones I would think of. So having this cozy is very different from all of those and an interesting little niche. So I like that has come about, that I can enjoy these translations. Definitely didn't exist as a genre like 20 years ago or more. I would say that cozy was just sort of like for kids' books, but in the past 20 years or so, we've had this, I don't know, maybe it's a sense of escapism that we all need from modern society, but we have more of a demand in the reading world for books where it's not nail biting and it's not high stakes and it's not realist. It's something quiet, something on the countryside, something that helps us slow down the pace of our processing. And so, I don't know, maybe an anecdote for modern life. That was my wink to the camera. So I've also got some books that I haven't read that fall into those other categories, but we'll move on to my next piece, which is the books I've read. So for this one, I'm going to get to show this. There we go. Pop myself down here, and I'm going to go through about 16 books that I've read. This is my read books sorted with the tag translated. So maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see the books. See if that helps. And we'll skim by the ones that are not appropriate for the genre, but this is the easiest way to do it. So let me just catch up with the chat so that I understand the comments. Anita says, I heard a great definition for cozy: books with more personal stakes. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so that gets like smaller town and lower stakes, but like personal stakes could still be very high. They're just not world ending. Interesting. Okay. All right, so we've got elements. I guess I will hold these for when we talk about cozy elements. Julie is here. Hello. All right. Hello. I'm going to save this. Cozy mystery came about with Agatha Christie. Yeah. I would not say Agatha Christie is a cozy mystery writer. I think she has a very biting wit, and I think that they are only cozy because now, with the benefit of hindsight, we see the formula. But I don't think we would categorize that as cozy. Anita says cozy has infiltrated most genres: mystery, fantasy, sci-fi, and yes, even horror. Yes. But not the translated ones, not the ones that I'm going to talk about. So I can leave most of the genre mashups out. There's only one that I'm going to refer to as a genre mashup, which I think you may find funny. Let's see. A writer pal is gaining momentum with his cozy reads. Mandrake Manor is one I've read, and they advertise it as a cozy, queer, suburban fantasy. Nice. So the ones I'm talking about are not going to be cozy fantasy. At least that's not how they're marketed. They have a touch of supernatural or magical realism, and it's sort of a loaded label for American books. So that's a whole nother video discussion topic. So I'll leave the genre debate for another day. I'd say cozies have been around a lot longer than 20 years. Perhaps. Give me some examples, because I definitely did not hear that title, that categorization, and the aiming for that market before like the last 20 years. Agatha Christie is considered the queen of cozy. It's a big hill to stand on, I think. Oh, Miss Marple. Okay. Right. I'm thinking of like Poirot and 10 Little Blank, and Then There Were None. Yeah, okay. Miss Marple might skirt around cozy, but the rest are not. Okay, yeah. I think I'm in agreement with Anita here. Miss Marple as like an older lady amateur. Yeah, the rest are not. I don't know. Maybe this will be our question of the day. Maybe more people will be able to refute or not. Yeah. I think it's because it's a classic and it's formulaic. Okay. So we're going to jump into the books that I've read that are cozy and translated, and I'll tell you a little bit about how much I liked them. And you could see from the ratings, but I'll tell you a sketch of the title here. So we're going to start just backwards chronologically with this book, which I just finished from the library. So Yangri Book Kitchen by Kim Ji Hai, translated by Shanna Tan. Shanna Tan has been on the channel for another book, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This is a Korean translated fiction, and it's about someone who opens up a bookshop / retreat in the countryside. And it also does like a little cafe line, but not like full meals, it seems like. So there's a guest house. There's like 6 or 7 rooms for the guest house. There's a bookshop. There's events. It's like a very multi-use mission. And we get a lot of different perspectives in the countryside, in this rural area. We have the owner, we have friends, we have chance acquaintances, we have strangers that like drive up and find the place. And you get sort of tangential crossings of people knowing each other, which is fun. And you also just get like the personal stakes that Anita was referring to, and a lot what I qualified as like nature and reflection. So because you're in the countryside, you see the plum blossoms, you see the first snow, you walk out and pick up chestnuts. It's a lot of like reconnecting with the natural world, which is what I liked about it. I did find the translation a little bumpy. Things where I was like, nope, that's actually not what it meant to say in my English brain. So just to put that caveat in, I liked the book. I enjoyed the pacing, but not up to the quality of some of the other books that I have read. Going backwards, we have What You Are Looking For is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama, and the translator is Allison Watts. I can see it on the cover. It's very, very small for you guys. This book, I don't know if you can see common elements on the covers. It takes place in a library, but the library is really a community hub. And the device that they use is a reference librarian who's kind of quirky. And for some reason, each of these different people that we follow have a problem. They end up getting referred to this reference librarian who recommends a book and gives them a little knitted ornament that she's working on because she likes felting ornaments. And for some reason, the books that she recommends are off the wall, but they end up addressing their need. And the little felted ornament also ends up like sparking something for them. And we do see characters come back into other characters' storylines, which is nice. And I just thought this was really well plotted. While the other one was more sort of vague and focusing on nature, this one was more like, the next day she went back and this happened and this happened. And it's had more of a, I think, functional plot. Shorter time span, not like a whole year. So I really liked that. Then we have Dinner at the Night Library by Hika Harada, translated by Philip Gabriel. And this is a fun cover. Again, any common elements? This rotates around a night library, which is a non-existent concept. The night library is special in the Japanese countryside because it has been set up as a depository of authors' collections. So authors who have a substantial notoriety, famous for some things, they have their libraries at the time of their death. They donate them to the night library and they curate them. They basically keep all of the books as the like snapshot in time of this author's collection. And it's not just the books that they wrote, it's all the books that they had in the library. So that's an interesting concept. But alongside that, we have several different characters. I think there's like 4 that we follow, and they're all there for different reasons, and they have secrets, and the secrets sort of come out in the administration of the night library. And that wasn't as fun of a reveal as some of the other things. So it was okay. I liked it. The points of view also sort of snap in and snap out and change tone really abruptly. So the coziness is sort of like when you switch heads, you change the tone and the voice, and it creates some good variety in terms of like knowing the inner thoughts of some when you only know them as the outer dialogue in other storylines. But it was abrupt in the way it was done. So not my favorite, but an interesting premise. I really liked it. Going back more in time, we've got this one, which I bought and resold, The Full Moon Coffee Shop, which apparently looks like it's going to be a series by Mai Mochizuki, translated by Jessie Kirkwood. And look at the cover. It's so cute. I could not resist this. This is why I bought it. The Full Moon Coffee Shop, this leans pretty hard into magical realism. So it's kind of like the audiobook that I'm currently listening to, which is Sandy June's Legendary Fry Bread Driving, which appears when people need it. So basically, this is you drop a hint, you get a clue, you meet someone at this coffee shop that is there one day and disappears the next. Like, ooh, supernatural, right? There's also like talking animals, and people think it's a dream, but it helps them with their life problems. And all of these life problems are sort of like self-confidence or self-help type topics, which I like, and they're treating it very gently. So Full Moon Coffee Shop, let's see. I'm getting back to my list here. Yeah, magical. Let's see if I missed anything else. Not yet, not yet, not yet. Oh, the other thing about what you were looking for is in the library is that it reminded me of Amélie. So if you remember the French movie from 2001-ish, Amélie, it's this woman who tries to do good and ends up like doing different things for people, and it sort of sets off this chain event that she doesn't know what it's going to do. So what you're looking for in the library, that reference librarian sort of starts the same sort of spark, but we get the perspective not of the reference librarian, but of the people that she's helping. So so I put that down as a fun note in case you liked that movie, which I definitely did. It's one of my favorites. All right, going back again, Yo Nam Dong's Smiley Laundromat by Kim Ji-yoon. This is a Korean fiction translated by Shanna Tan. So again, it's the one that I had on my channel who did Book Kitchen and others. It's a pretty famous translator now. And the laundromat was fun in that it was a different location, but it's a very similar premise of like a community hub, right? So Smiley Laundromat. There's various people who go to this laundromat. They make a big deal out of how it's very nicely organized and calm, and, there's a journal there, and everyone likes the smell of the dryer sheets, like, it's a big deal. So we go through different, points of view of characters who are using the laundromat, and they're pretty separate. They don't really relate, it's just very small tangential relationship until there's a point where there's, like, a break, and then everything speeds up. So I would say the personal stakes are pretty dramatic, in the first good majority of the book. People can't make their rent, people are having family issues, people are having problems in school. But then when we have this break and, like, things start coming together, it's, like, very thriller-esque and, like, improbably everyone joins together. So, mm, if you wanna just, like, be absorbed into the fantasy, that might be your jam, but the sort of change, I am not a big fan of when a storyline has a set tone and it abruptly changes with no explanation. So that sort of put me off it a little bit, but I did like the laundromat has this book that people write in where they don't think it's gonna be read. It's just an anonymous, like, doodle journal, and people confide their deepest secrets in there, which is, again, improbable, but kind of sweet. So everyone comes together in the end and oh my gosh, the audiobook was really funny because they have lots of different voices, and they were chasing down a villain and, like, it was a little madcap at the end, but enjoyable. So yeah, I wish it was more connected before that sort of switch in tone, but yeah, fun read, fun listen. What do we have next? Ooh, we have one of my favorites on this because it talks about food. This was a sequel, but they're standalone, and I think they're pretty similar, so it doesn't matter what order, but I haven't gone back and read the first one. This is The Restaurant of Lost Recipes, which is part of the Kamigawa Food Detectives series. It's written by Hisashi Kashiwai, and the translator is Jesse Kirkwood. So we get some repeat names here. Um, this is about a restaurant that doesn't disappear, but it is pretty awesome because it's run by a father and a daughter, and the mother has passed away. The father and daughter have a restaurant, and it's just not very well known, but the food is like 5-star. So what happens is people hear about the restaurant, they come in on a reference from someone else that they need a food detective, and the father and daughter listen to the story of what food they're trying to recreate from a memory to resolve something in their life. And I'm trying to remember. I think the daughter takes the notes, but the dad is the one who, like, does the researching and traveling all over. So it's mostly about, getting to the memory that the food recreates and resolving emotional trauma that is, like, in that person's background. And there's a little bit of different storylines, different guests seeing each other, but just really fun, and the food descriptions in this are to die for. So I have it as an audiobook, but I'm very tempted to have a physical copy of this so that I can, like, look up some of the dishes and see if I can find them at a restaurant, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to make them, but just, like, they sounded so delicious and, like, heartwarming, right? This is the one where you're listening to someone's feast because it's not only a feast of the senses, it's a feast of memory, and so just, like, really the definition of cozy for me, just, like, really, really good. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Let me catch up on the chat. I'll pause for a second. Okay, so Eva is still arguing for Agatha Christie. If it's classic, it doesn't count. No, what I'm saying is I think we consider it cozy because it's a classic. If someone wrote a similar type story now in a similar tone to the era, I think it would not be considered cozy. I think it's the distance. I think modern readers are making things up. Are you talking about us? Um, I read Agatha Christie as a teen and have always loved cozies. That was 30 years ago. Cat Paw, hello. Brain is not cooperating with examples, but I've secretly loved cozies since my early teens. So Okay, so that's oh, examples, right, I was asking for an example. All right. Okay, we're getting close to some elements here. I'll pop these up before we return to the answers of the day. Pets, yes. Another cat, yes. Well spotted. Um, Cat Paw says maybe Stitches in Time, Barbara Michaels, but that's published in 1999. Barbara Michaels is the one who wrote a really... Oh, no, that's a different one. I don't know if I've read Barbara Michaels. Okay. Cat Paw says, second, definitely pet companion, cat, dog, rabbit, guinea pig. Another cat. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Unwritten rule is cat cover means cozy. Yes, it's definitely an indicator. So you guys are catching on. Cat Paw says, I'm gonna leave my favorite movie. It was my favorite movie for a long time as well. So now it's still in like the top 5. Cat Paw says, now I want sushi. Yes. And Eva says, Margaret does this around lunchtime all the time. Well, it's lunchtime for you. 10 a.m. is not lunchtime yet. For me, yes, sushi emojis. Excellent. All right. So we're going to take off the food for a second. Okay. So that's French. That's not exactly translation, but I labeled it translation because we do have indigenous words translated in there that are really cool. All right. Here's the big granddaddy, like the first one that I read, Because of a Mighty Blaze. Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop by Huang Borum, and the translator is Shanna Tan. So this is how I met both the author and the translator and had them on the channel. So I'll pop that up in the cards later. This is a Korean fiction, and it's about a bookshop that someone starts that also has a cafe where they serve coffee. And the main characters that I remember are the woman who's the owner, who has left a very stressful job to start the bookstore. There's the guy who gets hired on part-time to do the coffee, who's like obsessed with coffee and like his journey. There's a mom of a student who comes in, like a little boy, and like her journey is taken up a little bit. And I think there's probably one more, but I don't remember because it's been a few years. And this is the first time that I ever heard something marketed as slice of life. So slice of life to me means like personal stake, kind of like what Anita was saying. And I would say it's a little self-help like, because what we're examining here is people's journeys to find happiness, right? They're trying to find balance. They're trying to put difficult episodes behind them and heal. And a bookshop is a perfect setting for that. So again, countryside, not countryside, I think it's like a suburb. And just like different people meeting and sort of learning how to trust each other. And yeah, over a long period of time, because we get to like unfold it pretty gradually. So I thought this was really nice and had a great conversation with the author and the translator at a very unique time period. So yeah, that was a fun one. Then I've got a German one, which is not cozy, and I didn't like it. Got a French one, which was okay, but that's not what we're concentrating on. Another French one, another German one. Okay, here we go. So again, do you see an element that is common? So Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, I listened to as an audiobook, and it's by Satoshi Yagisawa, and it's translated by Eric Ozawa. So Japanese. This, consulting my notes here. Oh, drama and second chances. So yes, this is a young woman who I think sort of went into a tailspin when she had a breakup, and she was super depressed, and she went to live with this like weird uncle who has a bookshop. It's really run down. And this is the first time I learned that there's a neighborhood of used bookstores in Japan, in Tokyo somewhere. And I asked my brother where it is. So it's on my list of places to go when I visit them next, whenever that is. And so she goes there and she basically can't function. She's super depressed. She's like living upstairs and helping, but like really a sad sack. And like gradually she learns stuff about her family history. Gradually she gets interested about the people who come in and the doings of the neighborhood. And eventually there's like people she goes to see up a mountain. I'm not sure of the details. I remember this being very dramatic at the beginning, and then being about second chances, not just for her, but also for other people that she interacts with. So in the same manner, we have overlapping lives, sort of tangential orbits, and they sort of mirror each other in this, which is pretty clever. And cozy element. It's book related. It's going to be set in a bookshop, set in a library. I mean, that's the element for me that I'm going to be calling out the most. All right, going back more in history. Oh, okay. So this is German, but I am going to highlight this one because it's a bookstore. The Door-to-Door Bookstore by Carson Henn. I listened to this and it does not have the translator on the front. So sorry about that. So the reason I consider this a cozy, let's see, the stuff that I liked about it and the reason it fits in the genre here. Find it. Interconnected. Okay. So we start out with a bookstore that is like not doing so well and a guy who's holding on to his job there because he delivers books door to door. And he's an older man in a, not suburban, but smaller town. And he has these connections. He thinks he knows these customers really well because he delivers books fairly often. And the new thing that's introduced, the inciting moment or element, is that he starts this relationship with a little girl who keeps bugging him when he goes on his rounds. And so first she's annoying. She's like, I don't know, 11 or 12. And then she sort of like shoves her way into his life and he's like, okay. And then he gets used to it. And then they sort of get to know the customers together. And then you get to know more about the bookshop because it's like getting taken over by another relative and they're changing things. So his job is done. And when his job is done and he can't deliver anymore, you see all these like ways that the community tries to pull together and care for each other. So it's lovely. And that's what I would consider really cozy, is that one, you've got the bookshop setting, even though the bookshop's not very nice. And two, you've got a community pulling together. It's a small town community that sees the needs that people have and they reach out instead of just ignoring and isolating, which I find really admirable. And so even though it's German, I'm going to put this in the category here. Okay, classic. We have a classic for Eva here. This is How Do You Live, which I actually did read for the May of the Moderns readathon. It's by Genzaburo Yoshino, translated by, doesn't say. Okay, so I read this for the readathon. It's about 4 sort of like preteen boys, and they're each having different hopes, concerns, worries for their future. And I think in a lot of young adult literature, it's about what I want for my future versus the expectations from my family. And so this is obviously part of the narrative. But I think the time period and the distance from the time period, again, gives us a different feel. 1937. So this is before World War II. This is before a lot of national trauma. And I feel like we get a feel for what people valued, the society before the terrible thing. So it's I love getting in these books and eras where, like the interwar era especially, where it's between something terrible and something terrible, and people know they've experienced the first one and they don't know it's coming, the second one. And so this like this really interesting dramatic irony where the reader knows and the characters know, but the author also did not. So let's see, what did I note for How Do You Live? I might read this again because I didn't really get into it. Young boys growing up, different classes, of course, and different parental status in society is part of it, and then expectations. But they're boys, so it wasn't as interesting to me. All right, so we got French from Canada. We've got Hungarian, I don't remember. Czech or Hungarian. I did not like this one. It was way too stressful, not cozy at all. Okay, then we get to, I think one of the earliest is The Great Passage by Shion Miura, translated by Juliet Winters Carpenter. And okay, here's the unique element in this one. So The Great Passage is about a dictionary that people set out in Japan to put together a new dictionary. It's a ambitious undertaking, and what we see is over time, the work project takes its toll on the people working at it, but we see their nobility in trying to live up to this really ambitious project, the effect it has on their lives, and the tenderness, the patience. It's like a family saga, but for a great work rather than like a love story. So I really liked this. And it was, again, I feel like I remember gentle language, sort of understated tone. And yeah, I read this as an ebook a long time ago. So most of it is gone. Oh, my mom read The Door-to-Door Bookstore on my recommendation, and she says it's so good. That's fun. That's fun. Dee Dee's here. We finished later today with Friday Reads Live. Yeah, nice, nice. Slow start, but then you get even more activity later. Maybe everyone was sleeping in. All right, let's see how many left. Some days. See if there's any. That's Canada. That's French. Okay, Nakano Thrift Shop. This is another one that falls into the category according to other articles that have done roundups of this. I just gave this so. It's a thrift shop where there's an owner who's kind of quirky, and we have one employee who we're in the mind of, and then another employee who's like really silent. And so I think maybe it was a little slow and I wasn't prepared to ease into it. This is by Hiromi Kawakami, and I can't see the translator there. So interesting. Maybe I should go back and read it. But again, a lot of these cozies are going to be slower pace, lower stakes. And that's sort of the point, is that you can take a breath outside of the furious pace of today's society and just get absorbed into someone wondering if, like they should change jobs or move town, or, how they're going to help their friend by getting the moving truck and going to pick up something. So yeah, that's again one of the common things. Oh, here we go. Here's my genre mashup for Anita. So this is by Marie Kondo. It's called The Life-Changing Manga of Tidying Up a Magical Story. And you may think, okay, well, Marie Kondo, she doesn't write fiction. This got to be nonfiction about tidying, right? Because her other books are nonfiction, like self-help. But no, it's actually a manga that is a fictional example of Marie Kondo inserted into fictional life, where someone is overwhelmed and their apartment is a complete disaster and they're looking for help. So they invite Marie over, and then she goes through the process with them. So it's basically like the TV series, but fictional and made into manga format. So it's really cute. It's this woman who's a career woman, and she lives next to someone who's a cook and just doesn't know why she can't get ahead of things and keep her life straight. And this is Marie Kondo going in to say, So I was just looking into it a little bit before the stream and remembering how cute it was. So yeah, if you've read the nonfiction Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up and Spark Joy, you probably will enjoy this because it's another example of her philosophy. I'm also in the waiting list for Marie Kondo's newest book, which I think is called Letters from Japan. So I'm looking forward to that. I love the philosophy, and this qualifies as fiction because it's a manga fictional story, even though she writes nonfiction and it's about her business. So I thought that fit in. It's very cozy because she's just so gentle and like nudgy. And of course it's translated. The translator is, well, it says illustrator. Translator, Kathy Hirano. There we go. So loved this one. Genre mashup, sort of. And is that it? Let's see if we have any more of the ones that I've read and loved. Oh, this came up in conversation. Someone else has read this, Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukegawa, translated by, doesn't say on the cover. This is one of the first ones that I read. I got it from the library. I'm not sure why. I think I just must have picked it up because it's from 2013 and I read it in 2018. Oh, in August. So women in translation. I don't know if the author is a woman. But I remember this, it's a walk-up window where they make a fast food, and it's, I don't know if it's not doing well or if it's like a family business or something, and someone applies for a job there, and what comes to unravel, I don't want to spoil it, but like there's a big sort of plot, and it's about someone's self-image and like a societal shame about this self-image, and like it gets this lovely storyline of resolving this and people coming together, as you can see on the cover. So that's all I remember about it. It's a long time ago. Is this, yeah, and for some reason it starts over. I'm not sure why it puts that there. But there we go. Okay, so there we go. All right, so I check my outline here. And now we can go to the answers, because you may have noticed some common elements from all those covers and those titles and the little sketches that I was giving you of the premise and the plot. So let's revisit those. Hi, Jim. How's it going? So let's see, Eva. Element that makes a book cozy, in her opinion, the character isn't in danger. So I think we could also call that low stakes, like what Anita was saying, personal stakes. It's fulfillment, it's happiness, but it's not like life or death, which I think Agatha Christie's are actual death. So that's a vote against. I don't know how you're gonna change the rules for that one. Anita said, I heard a great definition for cozy, books with more personal stakes. So if you're just coming in, we are defining. Bookriot gave a good definition, but Anita also had a great definition. And Julie's answer is very low stakes drama with a happy ending. Yeah, we did cover happy ending. And for Japanese cozies, a cat on the cover. Yeah, the cat is pretty, what is it? Ubiquitous? Necessary? I don't know. Somewhere between one and the other, right? So I would say what I said before I looked up Bookriot's definition is cat, definite indication. Small town, a bookshop or library setting, which is like, love it. Interlocking short stories, because it seems like I was talking a lot about intersecting lives and how people come together in the community. So short stories that feature each other are a great format for that. A restaurant cafe setting, because several of these also had cafes. And a small business, like the walk-up fast food window was also a small business, like a family business. And so that gives a good landscape for personal growth, personal stakes, that sort of tone. Oh, maybe it was Julie who just read it then. I found Sweet Bean Paste a lovely read. The characters are very memorable, even after quite some time. Well, well done. It's buried underneath so many books at this point. So yeah. And then Jim said, cozy crime where the victim is a nasty piece of work so no one is upset he or she was killed. Well, okay, so that is an argument for death is possible. I think cozy mysteries, especially in the American market, allow death because of this reason, because no one cares. It's not like a character we're following and care for is the one that's killed. It's like, I don't know, like the baker who always yelled at kids when they came into the store or something. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, and Legends and Lattes, small business. Exactly. So Travis Baldry's books are like the height, the peak of cozy. And I think where the label really took off in terms of marketing, personal stakes, personal fulfillment, small business, small town, etc. So yeah, interesting combination, right? But again, not translated. So he would be in it, the first category that I said. I was just gonna say why some don't hit for me as well. So I mentioned the Smiley Laundromat it had like a really abrupt shift in tone to sort of like a thriller, and that really doesn't fly with me. But again, that's a personal preference. The other one, the one that I have not mentioned that everyone puts on this list and many people love, so hot take here, was Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I read it as an audiobook, and I got halfway through. I got through 2 of the major chapters, and there was only 4. And I was like, I can't take this. I was waiting for them to relate. I was waiting for them to have a payoff, and there was nothing, and it was too slow. And I was like, I'm not listening to this anymore. So the pacing is part of the draw, right? The pacing that you slow down, you get to think about things. But for me, it was just like a tease. It was just like, let's sit here and talk about the feeling of a finger on a mug. And let's sit here and talk about the rain outside the window. And let's sit here and talk about, and like none of the plot was actually being advanced. And so that just got me really annoyed. So I am not reading the rest of that series. It's fine. It's because I'm allergic to hype. All right. So for me personally, cozy translated books, including the ones that I've just highlighted, it seems that the pacing seems to be a defining trait, and the theme is really important for me. So the thing about pursuing happiness and fulfillment, and the way we get to see that develop, whether it's in the one main character or more often several different points of view who arrive at it independently, which I like that too. Okay, and then I have a few on my list to read. So this is the only one I have in paperback, and I just got this on my trip to Canada. The Cat Who Saved Books by Sosuke Natsukawa. This is like not new, but not like a classic. It's a modern classic. It was written in Japanese in 2017, translated in 2021. Okay, so more recent than I thought. Translated by Louise Heel Kawai. So look at that cute cat and book on the cover. Done. And I didn't talk about the Traveling Cat Chronicles. It must not have been on the list in Storygraph. So speaking of cats on the cover, I just finished Traveling Cat Chronicles, 5 stars, big tearjerker. And apparently it didn't make it on the list because I didn't update the page, but really, really good. I mentioned it in the wrap up, I think, last 2 weeks ago. So really, really good. So TBR, Cozy Translated TBR. Also, because of that Bookriot list and because of the audio book magazine where I worked for a bit, I have Will Prescribe You a Cat on my TBR wish list. I have the Rainfall Market, which looked lovely, and the Delegate Dream Department Store. So that looked pretty fun too. And I don't know if some of these will get too magical realism or like not plot enough, but they look really pretty. The covers are really great. So they hopefully fit into the genre with the elements that I appreciate most. Hopefully. All right. So if you have a favorite cozy translated book, drop it in the comments below. This is like if you're a fan, put the little fan at the end. And if you have upcoming events. So I'm just going to talk about upcoming events and then close this out for today. Anita says, as someone who writes cozy mysteries, cozy horror, cozy mysteries do 1 death, maybe 2 deaths. All right. We've got an average body count. Jim's got a favorite, The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I think is TJ Klune, one of his first big hits. We've got an Andy in the house. Hello, hello. Andy, do you have a favorite cozy translated book? I'm just going to remind you guys, Wednesdays and Fridays are my stream times, but when I have a special guest, I often will do it on a Monday. I'm thinking we're going to have a buddy read discussion on Monday. This is our like tentative date, but I'm only like halfway through here. And I don't know how far Tiffany is. She didn't respond to the text message, but Walking with the Wind, John Lewis's book, is intense and really interesting. It's talking about the civil rights movement. And I was reading a bit last night about 1963, right around the March on Washington, right around the assassination of JFK. And it's really intense. It's really interesting. And they were all happy when the Civil Rights Act went through with Lyndon Johnson, but I'm thinking now, like, the Voting Rights Act is it's got its head on the chopping block right now, so that's a bit worrisome, and, like, reading this at the same time as that is happening is a bit of a doozy. So, yeah. Oh, okay, so Mama's saying Maisie Dobbs is one of my cozies. So, yeah, I looked at some of those, and again, not a translated book because she writes in English, but I thought, why don't I categorize that as cozy? Because it does have a lot of interior thought, it does have a lot of processing and self-examination, but because she's so, um, not esoteric, what's the word, when you intrepid. Why is esoteric like intrepid? Because it starts with a vowel and it has a T in the middle, I guess. So she's intrepid and she goes into these dangerous situations, and there's all these complications of her backstory and like the many mysteries that she dives into. So to me, that doesn't feel like a cozy. People do die. There are big like what's it called? State secrets. Um, so yeah, some cozy elements, but yeah. Jim says the door-to-door bookstore is on my Kindle app. I think you would enjoy it. It's like it's heartwarming. It's very good. Very good. Let's see. Buddy read discussion. So maybe next Monday I'll be talking about this book with Tiffany, or maybe we'll put it off another week. It's a special, so I'll make sure to check in with her before I schedule it. Next Wednesday before Thanksgiving will be another wrap-up Wednesday. So you'll get to hear from the books that I've read lately, which will be a bunch of library books because I am returning them all today before I leave town to go visit the family. Okay. We've got another answer from Cat Paw. Favorite cozy right now, the Josephine Fox series, but again, not translated. Okay, this is the one you've recommended to me, I think, a couple times, and so it's on my list. And I don't think it's at the library because I think I looked it up and we didn't have it. Anita says, I don't have any translated cozies, but House of Frank is a great cozy fantasy. Oh, that rings a bell. House of Frank. Is that TJ Klune? I feel like it's a bigger name author. Or no, is it an indie author? And maybe it's an indie author. My memory. You're all taxing my memory. Kay Sinclair. Maybe it's LGBTQ. I'm assigning it like a special tag in my head for some reason, and I can't see it just from the cover. So we'll leave it at that. Kay Sinclair. Yeah, the cool spelling. Okay, so cozy fantasy. Excellent. Anita, if you have a video on cozy fantasy highlights or spotlight books, feel free to drop it in the chat. Yeah, it's LGBTQ. Okay. I knew there was like a special thing about it that made it pop up in my feed several times. So yeah, excellent. Good to know. It is Transgender Day of Remembrance today, a reminder. I heard this on the podcast that I listen to, the political podcast every morning. So yeah, look out for your friends today. It is also still Native American Heritage Month, and I'm just interpreting that broadly to be more about read Indigenous authored books. So highlight those if you get to read them in the month and all year, of course. Jim says, is Christmas Carol cozy horror? I'll let Anita answer that one. I like the phrase that people use. I think it was a meme on Instagram or somewhere where I saw several times. Let's all remember that the true meaning of Christmas is rich, greedy bastards getting woken up and tormented in the middle of the night until they relent and feed the hungry in their community or something like that. I'm like, that's great interpretation. I love it. I love it. So I don't know if it's cozy horror, but the true meaning of Christmas. Thank you, Dickens. Yeah, that's fun. Well, it doesn't taste like mold anymore, so that's good. Okay, well, I think that's it for us today. Thank you for joining me with the cozy translated fiction. Hopefully that has put a few new titles in your radar, and maybe we can take the Agatha Christie cozy debate offline. Settle this outside. Just kidding. Just kidding. Anita says, I'd say A Christmas Carol is more in the Victorian ghost story tradition. Okay. Yeah, Victorians did not do cozy. They would call it something else. They wouldn't even call it cozy with an S. I think they definitely call it something else. But yeah, that is it for us today, everyone. Thank you for being here for cozy translated fiction. I hope you enjoy some of the reads. Let me know if you have a favorite down below. And don't forget, diversify that reading list. I'll see you again soon next week. So have a lovely weekend and take care. Happy